Okay, well, let me start. Welcome, everyone. And it's lovely to have you here, people from all over the world, as we've seen in the chat. It's lovely to have people from Pakistan, from Mexico, from the Netherlands, from Argentina, from India, from Bangladesh, from Uzbekistan, the Gambia. That's really brilliant to have so many people from all over the world. It's lovely to have you here today. So my name is Linda Waldman, and I'm the Director of Teaching and Learning at IDS. And what I'm going to do today is run through a slideshow with you about the kinds of things. What I want to do is give you both an impression of what we teach, but for me, more importantly, I also want to tell you about what IDS is like as a place. I want to share with you, I want you to come away from this talk knowing more about the kind of place IDS is. And we've got 3 people with us to do that. And I'm really happy and delighted to introduce 3 of our students and we're studying at IDS to also give you a little bit more. And I think as they well know, they're entitled to say whatever they like, and they can give you perspectives that might differ from mine as well. So we've got Chandni Ganesh with us. Chandni, it's lovely to have you. Really excited to have you with us. And Chandni's been studying an MA in Gender and Development. And then we've got Wafa alum who's with us. Wafa, I don't know if you can wave to people. And Wafa is studying the MA in Governance. And we're very happy to have Wafa here. I've worked with Wafa in the past, and it's lovely to have her with us at IDS now. And lastly, we've got Niharika Srivastava, who's studying the MA in Poverty and Development. So well done, Niharika, and congratulations. Lovely to have you here with us today. Okay, so let's tell you a little bit more about IDS. So hopefully you'll see my slides as I move on. You can still see my slides, can't you? Yeah, you can. Excellent. So IDS is the Institute of Development Studies. We're based at the University of Sussex, and at IDS, we have a very particular mission of what we're trying to do. We try very hard. We want to deliver world-class research, learning, and teaching. But we don't just want to teach for teaching's sake or research for research's sake. We are really, really conscious about the fact that one of the things we want to do is we want to transform the world. We want to make the world a better place. And we want to use IDS to make the world a better place. So we're trying to develop the knowledge, action, and leadership that's needed to do this. We want the world to be more sustainable, more equitable, and we want to use everything we do at IDS to help make this happen. So we have a partnership with the University of Sussex. So IDS is at the University of Sussex, and we work very, very closely with the University of Sussex. And together with the University of Sussex, we are the biggest and the best in development studies, which is amazing. The University of Sussex will accredit your degrees. So if you study at IDS, when you leave IDS, you'll get a certificate, a degree certificate from the University of Sussex with IDS on it as well. And we have at IDS and the University of Sussex, the British Library of Development Studies, which is this amazing historical resource that everyone can use to find literature and around development. So together with the university, we have been ranked #1 in development studies for the last 8 years now, which is really amazing and completely incredible. And that brings with it, for us at IDS, it brings with it a lot of excitement, and it's lovely to be recognized in this way, but it also brings challenges for us, and it means we try constantly to strive to be the very best that we can be. So at IDS, we offer a number of different degrees. And what we won't do in today's talk is go into any degree in a lot of detail, but you can follow up and ask questions about the degrees, and particularly from Chandni, Wafa, and Niharika. So we offer 8 master's degrees, and one of those degrees is very, very specialized, and that is the MA Power, Participation, and Social Change, which is all about reflexivity, about social action, about working collectively to understand the world and bring about change. And then we have one which is very, very general, which is the MA Development Studies degree. And that degree is the degree that gives everyone the most choice. It's the degree that you have the greatest variation and the most choice. And you can use that degree to shape your world. So if you're interested perhaps in something very, very specific, like maybe informal settlements or rural slum development, then you can use that degree to make sure that you pick and choose all the different modules that work best for your degree, for your interests. And then we have a number of degrees that are themed by very standard and well-known development themes that we also think are particularly important. So we have the MA in Food and Development, the MA in Globalization, Business and Development, the MSc in Climate Change, Development and Policy, an MA in Gender and Development, an MA in Governance, Development and Public Policy, and an MA in Poverty and Development. So those are mostly our degrees, and then we also have a PhD by research that you can do. So as you can see from this, our degrees focus on choice or on development themes, well-established development themes. There's the MA in Power, Participation and Social Change, which is on practice and action, and then the PhD, which is mostly about doing your own focused, dedicated research. Brilliant. So moving on then, if anyone has any questions, do feel free to put them in the chat for now, and we will come back to them. So very importantly is, what do you need to get into IDS for a degree at IDS? So IDS is a little bit different to many universities, and we do ask that you have a first or upper second class undergraduate honors degree in a related subject. So it doesn't have to be in development studies. It can be in psychology, it can be in humanities, it can be in the arts, it can be in a range of different things. It can also be in maths or physics if you want to use that knowledge and bring it to development studies. But also very, very importantly, we ask for our students to have development related work experience. Now, this is particularly important because, as you'll hear later on in the session today, all of we want our students to come with experience and to bring experience and to share their experiences. We believe that we learn best collectively and we learn best in relation to other people. So yes, you can read an article and yes, you can talk about the article, but that's a theoretical article. We want our students to be able to share when they read an article, how that intersects with their own knowledge. And in so doing, everyone can learn from each other and sharing knowledge. So work experience is really important for us. We do recognize that many students don't have work experience in the old-fashioned way of having had a job for 2 years or 3 years or something like that. So we look at, you can include vacation work, you can include part-time work, holiday work, anything you've done that has helped. If you volunteered, you can include that. And we will look at your experience. What we ask for as well is a detailed 2-page personal statement. And what we're looking for there is some understanding of why you want to come to IDS. So please don't tell us you want to come to IDS because we're #1 in the world. That's lovely. We like being #1 in the world. But we really want to know intellectually or emotionally why you want to come to IDS. What does it mean to you? Maybe you've grown up in a world where you've seen people really struggle to survive and you've seen what poverty does to people. Or maybe you've worked in a bank and you've seen how banks don't acknowledge its sufficient importance on personal relationships and on where people are coming from and striving to go to. So what we want from you in your personal statement, and that's what it is, it's personal, right? We want a sense of what is it that interests you about development studies? What are you passionate about? And why do you want to come and study with us? So that's really what we want to do.
Linda, we
Yes.
are at the 10-minute mark, and I also want to say that I think there's some issue with the chat. We are only able to send you messages like directly, not for everyone to see. If I don't know, I think it's a setting. Maybe you can check that. So I also wanted to like tell everyone that they can post messages or like questions that they had. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Niharika, for that. I don't know how to change the chat now, and I'm not going to try if you don't mind, because it'll take me too long. But I am going to say, I can already see that there's one question around how many people get accepted into IDS, and I'll answer that a little bit later on. And I can see a lovely chat about how you can show how your business experience, let me just read that. If I can show motivations, do I still require development-mated experience? I'm going to come back, Mohammed, I'm going to come back to your question in a little while. And we'll come back to criteria of, can we explain some criteria of development-related work experience? I don't think we really have criteria. So we don't have a kind of, you must have spent a year at the World Bank kind of idea of criteria. So it can be all sorts of things. If you've had a holiday job, cleaning offices, and you want to talk about how that has helped you to understand why waste is an issue that has to be addressed and you're interested in sustainability, then you can do that. We're very open-ended about what we consider to be experience. But what we're looking for is, can you bring something to share with the class? Do you have interests and work experiences that you can share? If we're not sure, if we think, oh, we're not sure about your experience, we will always go back to you and ask you about your experience in an application. Okay, so I'm going to move on, but we'll come back to this in questioning if we want to. So the next comment is, what do you do at IDS, right? If you study at IDS, a lot of your work will be in written assignments. So you do have to write, and that writing will be in English. So you'll write a lot of term papers or essays. We'll do a lot of group presentations, and you end your degree right at the end with a 10,000-word dissertation. You'll also do other kinds of assignments. You might do a takeaway paper. If you do the poverty and development degree, you might have a takeaway paper, which is a paper which you're given a little bit of notice. It might be 24 hours or a week, and then you have to submit it. We don't have many takeaway papers. We used to have a lot, but we don't have many anymore. You might do an action research assignment. You might do a consultancy. You might write a policy brief or do a blog or do a group consultancy. So these are the kinds of assignments we have. We don't have any any exams anymore. So we used to write exams, but we don't. The closest we come to exams now is the takeaway paper. And the picture you can see, that's a typical classroom in IDS. That's Chandana Moman teaching and standing up, and students seated. We like this kind of informal seating arrangement where students can also move around and where we can do group activities in the classroom as well. So we have a lot of different kinds of ways that we try to support our students while they're at IDS. And this includes that for every degree you do, you will have a dedicated convener. For your assignments, you will usually have a dedicated supervisor. We have lectures, seminars, classrooms, workshops. So the kinds of things that you will do while you're at IDS, you might include some participatory workshops. For those of you who've worked in development or who have some kind of experience, you might remember Robert Chambers, who first introduced participatory research. So that's a picture of Robert running a workshop. Robert doesn't run workshops anymore for us, but we still have participatory workshops because we want to inspire our students to continue to use this technology and this way of doing research. We have Professional Skills Week in January, which is when I love Professional Skills Week. It's when we call it IDS Teachers IDS. So anyone, any student, any member of staff can give a session on something they know about and want to talk about, and others can go and learn the skills. So I've learned a lot of new skills attending Professional Skills Weeks from our students and from other staff. We have a research design module and a methods week. That's to help you with your dissertation. And then we have core sessions every Wednesday to help guide our students and to make sure that everybody is doing okay, and to talk about all the things that you need to know when studying that you don't learn in lectures. We have a brilliant student study space, which don't tell anyone, but I really want it as a lecture room, but I wasn't allowed to have it. So it's a student study space where students can sit and study. It's beautiful, fresh air, lovely light. So I really like it, but unfortunately I can't use it to lecture in. So at the moment, this year at IDS, we have 162 master's students. They come from 46 different nationalities. So I think that's last year's students over there. And that's the back of IDS, you can see in the photograph there. And we have about 62 PhD students. So that will give you the sense of who studies at IDS. And we love the fact that we have such a diverse student body. When students leave IDS, they often say that they learned more from their colleagues and the other students than they did from lecturers, because students learn a whole range of different cultural things, geographic things, context things, but they also learn how to interact with people from all over the world. And I think it's probably the most important thing you get while you're at IDS. So IDS has a vision. We want a more equitable and sustainable world where people everywhere can live their lives free from poverty and injustice. It's a very important vision to us. We work very hard to make sure all our research and teaching is focused on that and trying to address that as well. We have some commitments that we work on specifically. So we do want to uphold climate and environmental justice. We want to reduce extreme inequities. We want to foster healthy and fulfilling lives. And we want to nurture inclusive, democratic, and accountable societies. So these are really important things. They're part of our IDS strategy. And we work hard to make sure that our work constantly looks at these issues. So I'm just going to go back and check I haven't missed the slide. Sorry, everyone. Nope. So I wanted to tell you a little bit more about IDS. This is a photo I took this time last year, so November 2023. I just love this photograph. So the University of Sussex is a beautiful campus, and it's a campus, so it's not lots of buildings in a city. It's a beautiful rural campus, and this is IDS in the autumn time. So IDS, as I've said to you before, is based at the University of Sussex campus. And when I think about what IDS is, then I feel like I was trying to think about how I would describe it to you. So I think it's a building. So we have one building on the University of Sussex campus, but it's also a charity. It's also a collaboration of global partners. So although we work in development, we work with a wide range of people all over the world in partnership. And mostly it's a community, and we work very hard to be a community and operate as a community. There are no undergraduate students at IDS, so we're only master students, PhDs, and staff. Everybody at IDS and everyone you will be taught by in your degree is a development professional. So what I mean by that is that all of our staff are focused mostly on doing development work. Their primary role is not teaching. Their primary role is to be a development expert, rather than to be a university lecturer. And we focus on development and the work of development rather than development as an academic discipline. So all of our lecturers, like myself, will also take on research consultancies or development consultancies. We'll work with policymakers, we will engage in development processes, and we'll do some teaching, but mostly we're working in development. IDS is very interested in diversity. That's diversity of our students, diversity of our staff. It's also diversity of our partnerships with others. And it's also diversity in terms of how we work, diversity of different subjects and topics. So we don't say you have to have anthropology or psychology or a different degree. We want to work across different subject topics and also across the natural and social scientists. So we do a lot of work with vets and zoologists, and we work across social and natural science. But the most important thing that we're trying to do at IDS is to prioritize social justice. And really, in our teaching, when we teach at IDS, of course, we want to teach. I love teaching. But we also, part of what we're doing when we teach is we're trying to build the next generation of leaders for development. We believe that we need exceptional people to lead the world. And in our teaching, we're nurturing that generation to take over from us and to be the leaders of development in the future. So IDS has this notion, and I'm not going to talk about it very much, but sometimes we talk about what we call engaged excellence. And basically all that means is that we don't want to be excellent only in an academic way. We don't only want to publish in the top academic journals. Of course, we do want to be excellent in that way. We do want to publish in top journals, but we want to publish things that can bring about change. We want to publish things that make a difference in the world. So we want our excellence to be engaged in bringing about difference. So it's really important to us that we do that. And so I want to talk a little bit about some of our leaders in development. So this is Isatou Touré, who did a PhD in IDS a number of years ago. And she wrote that IDS shapes leaders, creates leaders, and shapes the world. And she talks about how IDS has contributed to her, and she's proud to be a product of this great institution. Actually, Isatou has contributed to IDS as well, and we're very proud to have her as a graduate of IDS. So these are some of the roles that people have done in IDS, some of the leadership roles that they've gone on to do, and some of the kinds of work that people have done. So we've had people working for Save the Children in India. We've had Isatou Touré, who I mentioned, who was the former Gambian trade minister. We've had Carlos Quesada, who's the 48th president of Costa Rica. We've had Robina Marks, who's worked at the South African High Commissioner. And the list goes on of important places and people that have been through IDS. So members of the Greenpeace Canada, or the Greek Minister of Finance, or working for the UN, or South Africa's ambassador, or professors. We produced some academic lecturers as well, and professors, and working for the World Trade Organization, things like that. So these are the famous people and the big jobs that people get at IDS, but I'm also really, really interested in the other kinds of work, the work that we don't talk about so much, the kinds of things that everybody does every single day that makes the world a better place and helps to bring about helps to address social inequality and social inequity. And so we have a huge number of people who work for charities, who work for NGOs, who maybe don't have very big titles or aren't famous, who don't have lots of letters behind their names, but every single day of their lives, they're doing really, really important work. And I'm really proud of each and every one of them, as much as we're proud of the big names of people who went through IDS. And actually, sometimes I think their work is much more important, even though we don't talk about it as much. I think it's the hidden work that brings about real difference. So I wanted to share with you some quotes. So these are quotes from our students who've just finished their degrees. So a lot of students will have completed their degrees in September. They handed in their dissertations, and so students will be graduating. So this is a quote from one of our students, and I just loved it. It said, "IDS is a place to draw breath, where academics and students from across the world come together with a common purpose. It has given me a renewed belief that a better world is possible, and the knowledge and insights on how to go about getting there." I think that's a beautiful quote. So I'm going to share a few more quotes, and these are from last year's students. I'm not going to read them all out because they're quite long, but I'll just give you a minute to look at them. So the first one is all about the diversity of IDS and the different people who come to IDS. And then the second one makes me feel really special because it shows me that we have managed to create a community. You know, working in development is challenging. Everyone who works in development will face challenges in their lives. And if we can have a community that can support and nurture us and help us to do that, that's so important. So I'm so pleased that students can recognize that as well. And the third one I was fascinated by. I came as a stranger from the global south, and left behind a community. IDS is a Barbie land where hope and ideals collide with reality and suffering in the world. Yet there's a corner where you can cry and hug and talk your reflection with friends here. IDS is where people really do care about people and the planet. So here's some more. I just wanted to get as many as I could in, and so I got you some more. So the next three are all about being able to see the world differently as well, and IDS providing different lenses, different views, different ways of seeing the world. So I'll give you a minute to look at them, and then I'll go on. Okay, and that's my last slide. Just to say we have a brilliant, brilliant newsletter which you can sign up for. So if you go to the IDS website, www.ids.ac.uk/learn, you can sign up for the newsletter, and you can also keep up to date with us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. And I think that's the last of my slides, which is brilliant because now we're going to hear, much more importantly, we're going to hear from some of our current students who are going to tell you a little bit about their side and their perspective of the world. And while you're doing that, what I will do is read through the comments and see if I can make it possible, Niharika, Chandni, and Wafa, for you to also respond to the comments. So who would like to go first?
Should I?
Go for it, Wafa.
If everyone's okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Wafa, and I'm from Bangladesh. And I'm currently doing the MA Governance Development and Public Policy at IDS. And before coming here, I used to work in public health research back home in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So as of today, I've spent a little over 2 months in IDS. And I think I can very confidently say that the experience so far has been nothing great of short. So like when I decided to come to the UK, I was kind of anxious that, okay, at 30, coming back to academia after like a break of say 5 years, how will I make friends? How will I socialize? And it was all quite overwhelming. But since my first day in IDS, my worries, it kind of faded because IDS really felt like a community. Everyone at IDS has been extremely welcoming, extremely warm. It includes the teacher, the staff, the students, and all alumni. They gave me a very welcoming and a supportive environment, which helped me really adjust to this place. And the sense of community here, it is not just reflected in our studies, but it is reflected in the time that we spend together in IDS Bar, which is a really happening place, which those of you who are fortunate enough can come and see next year. And whether it's hanging out at the bar, collaborating at the study space that Linda described, it's beautiful, or whether it's just, sharing personal events, collaborating for projects. So there's always this sense of belonging that I found at IDS. And I think it's pretty rare to find that in any other university campus. And in just 2 months, we have organized amazing events. Starting from Oktoberfest, we celebrated Diwali, we did this Mexican Day of the Dead, and they really helped us kind of learn about others' culture and also the unique traditions that people celebrate. We did some creative events like zine making, we did open mic, and that really helped us kind of, after submitting your assignments, after chasing deadlines, it helps you reach out. So beyond academics, IDS really offers all these spaces. And I think Linda has kind of talked about the academic side of it, but I just want to say that in 2 months, I felt like whatever I was learning was kind of learning from the people who've done work on the ground. I'm learning from real evidences, be it from the global north, the global south, and our lecturers, they're experts in their own field. They bring in the latest research. So all of this, it really inspires me to do great research next when I graduate. And like Linda said, not just our lecturers, but in our class seminars, we get to learn so much from our classmates who themselves are either development practitioners or even bureaucrats in their own countries. And so all of this plus lunchtime seminars, all in all, I just want to say that IDS is great. And anyone who's thinking of coming here, no second thoughts, please. Just come, just apply. All right, so that's kind of all from me. Maybe we can move on to Niharika and Chandni, see what they have to say. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Wafa. That's brilliant. I wonder if shall we answer a few questions or shall we go straight to Chandni and Niharika? Why don't we go on to Chandni?
I saw Niharika turn on her mic, so go ahead, Niharika.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. In the true spirit of participation that IDS embodies. And I completely resonate and echo everything that Wafa said, because even before I came to IDS, I was studying at another institute in Europe, and I was a bit worried because I didn't have a great experience there when it came to like bonding with peers, and I was really, really worried, and I would constantly like tell my mom, like, will I be able to find friends? Will I be able to have a community? And it just did not take even probably the first 5 minutes at me at IDS during the welcome week to realize that, okay, I think I'm in the right place. And I think the institute goes above and beyond because they know what students like us are potentially likely to go through, and they go above and beyond to make the experience really comfortable for us, to help us, and I think embody the values that of kindness, of empathy, and helping each other out, and being considerate with each and every one right from the beginning. And I think that's why we have such a brilliant cohort of people. I think I do the MA Poverty and Development, and as per me, that's the best master's that exists in IDS. But maybe I'm biased. But yes, I want to say that the fact that we are taught by, our teachers are not only teaching, and they're not publishing for the sake of publishing, but they are themselves action researchers. They've done work for lots of organizations. So, for example, our course convener for MA Poverty and Development is the director for the Chronic Poverty Action Network, which does a lot of influential research in like sub-Saharan African countries and in South Asia. And it's really interesting to see how things work in the real world when it comes to like poverty action planning in the global south. And also, I think just in terms of exposure to new topics. So I'm someone who's only worked on rural development for all her professional like life, but I got exposure to like things like urban governance, like in one of my lectures, and the lecture was so good because of the kind of insights that they had. And I was actually like contemplating like, oh, I haven't like touched this great like this side of development ever, and like got more into like the topic. So like definitely a lot of exposure. And other than that, of course, I think there is I did not like realize that we were 46 nationalities this year, but I think the best thing about IDS, I think one of my seniors had put it like, a country is not just a country on the map for me now. A country is a person, because I know somebody from like a lot of countries now, and that just feels amazing to like learn from the first-hand experiences of people. And I think, and the last thing that I want to say is, yes, everything is like lovely and great about academics, but academia and the studies and the serious stuff that we do at IDS. But there's just so much fun and activities and volunteering and amazing events that you can be a part of. You can organize them, you can take the lead. Everyone's really like open to ideas, um, be it like doing crazy events on Diwali, or dancing your heart out, or learning about new cultures. I mean, I did not know a lot about Mexico or even Latin America as a region, but I just ended up learning so much just through these events, social events that I ended up attending. So I think I really do think that I've made the right choice by coming to IDS, and I just feel so happy that I took the plunge and I moved from my previous institute to IDS, because it's not just made me happy, but I think it's made me more confident and just more together and closer to what I want to do. So that's with that, I'll hand it over to Chandni probably.
Thanks, Niharika. I'm so glad to know that everyone sort of had the similar welcoming experience. And it was so wonderful to hear all of the quotes as well from my batch. I thought I would talk to you about four different things. I tried to think about what might be most helpful to a potential student. So I hope that this is. I'll talk about academia, extracurriculars at Sussex, the community that you can build here, and life in Brighton, because that was something that I was thinking about coming from India to the UK. In terms of academics, it's really important to know how you're being graded. So I would urge you to look at your specific program page and have a look at the kinds of academic work that you'll be doing, because I really liked writing my term papers. It was something that I found very engaging and insightful as not just a graded process, but a way for me to really look at the materials that we were given and learn about the history of gender and development overall as I was working on my papers. So look at the modules that IDS offers and think about what you might be interested in, because you really have the ability to shape the experience that you want, because you get to choose the modules, the elective modules that you get to take. And I was so excited in my second term as a gender student when I got to choose the modules that I was really interested in. And I went back recently to look at my statement of purpose, and I realized that I chose the exact modules that I said I was going to, but I realized that the learnings that I thought I would have were even greater than I expected them to be. And that kind of reflective process was really amazing for me. But I would also say, as advice to anyone interested in coming to IDS, to look at that. And I know that it may be daunting to think about immersing yourself in academia after working for a while, but all the conveners, all the lecturers who supervise you, who support you in your academics, are there to answer your questions and make you feel as comfortable as possible with doing that academic work. And our curriculum is really diversified. So we're not just reading about one region in the world, but we're looking at materials from a range of places. So one day I might be reading about supporting sex workers in India, but the next day I was reading about migration from South America to North America and what kinds of programs are being developed to support that. And that kind of diversity makes you think more creatively and more in a more engaged way about real life problems. The second thing I wanted to talk about was extracurriculars. In addition to everything that's available at IDS, you are at the University of Sussex campus, where there are so many things going on all the time. The Sussex Students' Union recently celebrated International Students' Day, where a bunch of people came together to share their culture. When I was at Sussex, I won the Student Voice Award for Most Engaged Counselor of the Year, which was a really fruitful experience for me because I got to engage with the student community on campus. And that community is as diverse as you can imagine. So working with students who are parents to first generation learners, which was an initiative started by a fellow IDS student last year. And really there's so much for you to take your own initiative on and make possible. So it's a place where you can spend a year just exploring and learning more about your own interests. The third thing I wanted to talk about was community. Um, I think at IDS, of course, there's a really diverse student body that you can engage with, but also Brighton as a place is an amazing way to get more involved in community. So I started volunteering with the local refugee charity, and I was writing letters to prisoners. So I was really engaged in building community, both at IDS and Sussex, but also beyond that. And it was so fruitful for me. And I hope that when you apply to come to IDS, you also think about the amazing place that you'd be in Brighton. And that's what I want to conclude on, the last part, life in Brighton. I lived on campus for my first year, and it was really fun because I happened to live with a bunch of other IDS students. So we would spend a lot of late nights together worrying about deadlines. But also, it was just really fun to be in a city like Brighton, where there's so much going on all the time. You have the beautiful South Downs right on campus, so you can be trekking and watching falling stars one night, and then you could take the train the next day and go to the sea and just be by the coast. And that's a really beautiful experience that I wouldn't have traded for anything. But also, I think it's a really great way to still be near London because there's lots going on in London all the time, and you can just take an hour-long train and be in London for the Migration Film Festival, for instance, which is where I'm going to be later this evening to watch a movie. There's lots for you to do, lots to explore, and lots of ways to be engaged. And I hope that you make the decision to send an application.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, Chandni. There are loads of questions in the chat, and I've done abysmally badly at answering all of them. So I'm going to try and answer some of them and share some of them and ask Chandni, Wafa, and Niharika to answer some of them as well. So one question that I really don't quite know how to answer is, how do we handle mature students? So I'm not quite sure what the question is asking. Are they asking, do we have special provision? Are they asking, is it unusual? Lots of our students at IDS are mature students because we only have masters and PhDs. So we're used to having mature students. I don't think we do anything special at one level, but at another level we do, because, for example, some students will have children. They might have babies. Sometimes they're children in classrooms. You will see children in IDS. Nobody minds that. What else do we do for mature people? We try to schedule stuff so that people can do other things and to recognize childcare. That's tricky as well, but we try to do that. I'm not sure who, if you can ask a little bit more about what exactly you're trying to ask, that would be really helpful. So I'm going to ask, and we'll come back to that question. But Chandni and Wafa and Niharika, one of the questions is, what is the difference between IDS and Sussex? And linked to that, somebody's asked about the Masters in Human Rights, which is a University of Sussex Masters. So IDS shares 2 master's degrees with the university, which is the MA in Food and Development and the MSc in Climate Change. So those masters are shared, and students come both to IDS and go to the University of Sussex. They get taught by people from both IDS and the University of Sussex. And all IDS students are University of Sussex students. So you can use the gym, you can use the campus, you can use the library. You are full University of Sussex students, but there are some differences. So I'm going to leave that question for Chandni and Niharika and Wafa to answer a little bit. And then Chandni, I've got a question for you, which is around which is the best degree. And the reason I'm pointing this to you is because I think it might be gender, right? Which is the best degree that deals with issues like cultural studies, decolonization, things like that. And I think the best degree is gender. So I think that's important. There's a question about, can you come straight from an undergraduate degree? And the answer to that is, it depends. If you've done other stuff, if you've done internships or voluntary work or worked for a charity, if you've got some form of work experience, even if you've only done it in your vacations, put it into your personal description and we will look at it. Also, if you've been an undergraduate from the University of Sussex, then definitely apply, because we will look at your application as well. Somebody's asked the question about the entrepreneurship of IDS as a discipline, and I'm really sorry, I don't understand the question. So I wonder if you could ask it again and I will try and answer it. And now I'm going to hand over to Chandni and Wafa and Niharika and answer any of the other questions you want to as well.
Is it okay if I just answer the first one about
Yes,
mature students?
absolutely. Yes.
So in our year last year, in my course specifically, we had the IDS graduate scholar who was pregnant when she first joined our cohort. And she actually gave birth the first month into her academic year. And a bunch of us went to visit her at the hospital. And we had another student who had a 3-year-old son, and they had come over from Latin America. And he was 2 years old, and for his third birthday, all of us at IDS put together a birthday party for him. And I think what you'll find is that the IDS community comes together to support its peers in unimaginable ways and really beautiful ways. And that's the kind of support that a mature student can also access at IDS and through the University of Sussex. So Sussex has specific targeted events for students who are parents, for students who are mature and continuing their studies after a long time, including careers events through the careers entrepreneurship department at the university. So it's really about what you need and how the community can come together and address that. But yes, Niharika, Wafa, if you want to answer some of the other questions before I go again.
I think I'll just say a few things about the difference between IDS and Sussex. So I call IDS the best of both worlds, because we as IDS students, we can access everything. Like Linda said, we have access to everything that a Sussex student has, but a Sussex student who's not an IDS student does not have access to a lot of things that IDS students can access. And our course conveners, they said that IDS, as opposed to other universities, IDS is a research institute that teaches. So it is really, like up to date with all the latest research in the development space. So, and we get to really learn by unpacking those latest research at IDS. Because me and Niharika, we're both new. We've just spent 2 months here. I think we don't know as specifically as Chandni does a lot of the programs for mature students and a lot of the differences. So yeah, that's all for that question.
I second that, and I don't have anything else to add, so I'll give it back to Chandni.
Did Chandni have more?
Yep, on the question about the difference between Sussex and IDS, IDS is a research institute charity think tank that's based at the University of Sussex. So when IDS was first founded, there was a bidding process. So IDS was almost somewhere else, but Sussex won that process. And that's how Sussex became home to IDS. And so we do lots of research, as Niharika, Wafa, and Linda have explained. But you apply through the university, and the university holds like all of the academic stuff and all of the logistical admin bits. But you are taught by all of the research fellows and research officers at IDS. So that might be why when you go to apply for a master's program, you'll see that you actually apply through the Sussex website. And that's because IDS is hosted at Sussex. And there's lots more information on that on the IDS website.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to try and answer a couple more questions. I'm trying to juggle the chat and the questions, but let's keep going as best we can. If we haven't answered your question, do pose it again or remind us. So there's a question about studying online or studying in person at IDS. So studying online is very, very different. Your lectures are presented to you statically and it's like this meeting, you join a Zoom meeting, you might have a lecturer presenting, you will have a convener. There is some similarity in the topics, not exactly the same. But the biggest difference is that if you study online, you are responsible for your studies and you interact through Zoom, and you don't leave your country. If you come to IDS, then you come and you're a member and you're an active member and you're in the building and you're coming to classes. So that's the biggest difference. So I think if you're working full time, and many of the people who study online work full time and have children, if you can't come to the UK, then studying online is an option. But personally, for me, I think studying in person in IDS is the most rewarding, and it's just such an incredible experience for me and for the students, for all of us. So it's difficult to know which is best because it depends on your personal circumstances. But if at all possible, I would encourage students to come to campuses around the world and to all campuses, not just IDS, to study. Have we answered sufficiently the differences between IDS and the University of Sussex? There are degrees in international development at the University of Sussex. They are very good degrees. They are taught by our colleagues. And you could certainly do them and get a similar experience and certainly come to the same graduation. We often have graduation together. So the difference is all about community, buildings, people, relationships. It's not that you get something substantively, you don't get a different degree certificate or a different kind of thing. Yeah, so it's all about the place that feels most at home, I think, and the kind of reasons why you want your degree. Somebody asked again, I know I'm repeating this question, but somebody asked, does it make sense to come straight from an undergraduate degree, or should I get work experience first from a career perspective? And that's such an interesting question and very hard to answer. At one level, it makes a lot of sense if you're studying already to keep studying. For me, between my undergraduate and my master's degree, postmodernism happened, and I came back and everyone was talking about postmodernism and I didn't have a clue what it meant, and I felt really stupid. So there's a logic to just keeping studying. But I also think that when you get into your master's and your PhD, there is things like experience and maturity count as well. So you have to work out what's best for you. There is no absolutely right or wrong answer. If you have the time and you can do it and you can study now, there's a lot of sense in doing that. So there is no right or wrong answer from a career perspective. You have to work out what works for you, I think.
Linda?
Yeah.
There were certain questions on my direct messaging, if I could take them up. They're
Absolutely, please.
I think some of them are related to the MA Poverty and Development, but I also think that they could be applicable for other students writing their SOPs as well. So first of all, there was a question asking whether the Poverty and Development is a School of Global Studies program. I think the answer to that is no. It's an IDS program. And there's this very interesting question which says that can students from anthropology backgrounds apply for the MA Poverty and Development program? And the answer to that is a resounding yes, because I just want to say that each degree that we do at IDS is very multidisciplinary in nature. So even though, say, our core module, for instance, this semester is poverty and inequality, and we've unpacked these topics, of course, from the lens of economics, but also through lenses of sociology, of anthropology, from the lens of power dynamics and gender, and a lot of from the lens of conflict and fragility. So it's really, really multidisciplinary, and I think that's the beauty of studying at an institute like IDS. And that being said, I think like Linda was mentioning, it's really about how you connect your previous education and experience with probably your desires. So I have a friend from Peru who did like a bachelor's in marketing and business. And over the course of her like 10-year long journey, she realized that probably corporates in the real sense aren't for her, but enabling women at the margins with economic and business and entrepreneurship skills so that they can rise in like the socioeconomic strata of her country is something that appealed to her, and then that's how she crossed over into the development sector in her country. I think that sounded so nice, and so it resonated so much with my own journey as well. And I think that's the kind of stories, personal narratives of what's attracting to you basis on your past lived experiences or feelings. Yeah, that's what I'd like to say.
The student who asked about, Mohammed asked about the question around entrepreneurship. And so he was asking about innovation and entrepreneurship as a theme of development. So Mohammed, yes, you could well work on innovation and entrepreneurship. There is no module entitled that, but you could pick up, for example, a module like business and development, and you could use that as your own specific focus. One of the things we encourage students to do is to have their own theme and focus that they want to do. So the MA Globalization would be a good degree for which to explore themes of innovation and entrepreneurship. And you could write one term paper on one thing, maybe on innovation in Ghana, and then maybe you could write another term paper on social entrepreneurship in Mexico or something like that. And then build up to a dissertation topic. So yes, you could do that, but there is no specific degree or topic that will cover it for you. There's no module on it, but you could build it through your work at IDS. So I hope that answers your question, Mohammed. There's another question. Do we typically accept students who have already done postgraduate research? We do sometimes accept people who've done postgraduate research. That's absolutely fine. But we will also accept people who have done undergraduate and have work experience of some sort or holiday experience. Right, so shout out if we've missed your comment at all, or if anyone can see any others we've missed. Just reading through them. How often do students get to work directly with some of the professors at IDS, like assisting them with one of their research projects? That's such a good question. So I can't answer it in terms of saying yes very often or not very often. There are opportunities, but they're not a huge number of opportunities, and it really depends on your subject expertise. So some students get to work with professors, but not everyone. I don't know if Wafa or Niharika or Chandni want to talk about that as well.
I can talk about that. So I was an RA on a research project for some of my gender course conveners. And I will say that it's rare. It's very difficult. And I I was shocked when the opportunity even came to me. And I didn't expect to work with anyone in that capacity. What I would say is that I utilized my time in my supervision one-on-ones for all my term papers and my dissertation as effectively as possible, because that gives you some flavor into what it means to work with some of your supervisors. And also just ask. I have a classmate who just asked one of our lecturers if there's any openings, you may not get a resounding yes. You may not even like get a response, but just you can ask. But I would say that come into this degree not to directly work under any of these lecturers, but to learn about how to bring theory and praxis together through those supervision meetings, because all of the research that you'll be introduced to through the modules come directly from real life programs, and those one-on-ones are so important to engage with that more meaningfully.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chandni. I want to pick up two questions. Yeah, I think, sorry, before I pick up two questions, I just want to respond. I think don't come to IDS in order to get work with professors, because I think Chandni is right and you will be disappointed. You're very likely to be disappointed. But absolutely, some students do get the opportunity. It's not guaranteed. We don't promise it to all students. And if you do get the opportunity, it is good. But as Chandni said, maximize your time with your supervisors and go to seminars outside of your classroom. There's always IDS community seminars, not the seminars for your degree, but additional seminars. And they're great places where if you ask a question, you show an interest in a topic, they can lead to further connections and further relationships that can lead to work. I'm going to ask, there were two questions I really want to pick up because there were some great ones. There was one, what are the specific qualities you'd like to see in a student? That's such a great question. I mean, and you know, for me, and this is my personal opinion, I think the best quality is a student who genuinely wants to learn. For me, I'm much more impressed by a student who might get 54%, but chose a new topic, struggled with something, tried to learn something. I don't care what marks my students get, but I care that our students learn. And the willingness and the love of lifelong learning, I think, is absolutely critical to being at IDS. If you just want a good mark, and all you care about is getting a good mark, then maybe IDS isn't the best place for you, because we don't work we're not very competitive. We don't focus on who's got the top of the class and who's done the best. We focus on working together, on trying to always learn, always think. As staff, we want to always learn and think. And for me, that's the best possible thing a student could do, is be open to learning. Of course, we want you all to pass, and you should want to pass. And we work very, very hard to help all of our students to pass. But passing is important, not getting the top mark. And most important is the being open to learning. And then someone's asked if there's an opportunity to study anthropology at IDS. It's also a really good question. So there are a lot of anthropologists at IDS. I'm an anthropologist. There are many others. Up until very recently, our director was an anthropologist. So there is no opportunity to study anthropology in the sense of I am doing an anthropology degree, but there is every opportunity to bring your anthropology to bear on your work and to read anthropologists about a certain topic and use it in your work. So I've always been commented in my annual reviews and my progress reviews. I'm always commented positively on how I bring anthropology into thinking about policy, into thinking about development challenges and impasses and things that just seem like they can't get resolved. And I bring my anthropology into that. So there's a huge opportunity to use and draw on your previous experience, whether particularly anthropology, but it could also be IR or psychology. But there's no opportunity to walk away from IDS with a master's in anthropology, if that makes sense. Wafa, do you have any questions you want to answer or pick up on? And Niharika? And then I'll come back. Chandni, of course, you as well, if you have more.
None from my side.
Go for it. No.
Same, none from me.
Okay, were there students who wrote dissertations on trade? Yes, there have been students who wrote dissertations on trade. Have they written on trade agreements? I'm not 100% sure, but I can't see any reason why they should not have. Questions. I'm planning to apply for the Commonwealth. If you're planning to apply for the Commonwealth, Mohammed, it makes sense to apply for IDS first, because if you're already accepted, I think that strengthens by IDS, I think that strengthens your Commonwealth application. The question for master's degree, does research require fieldwork, especially for overseas students? A brilliant question, Nisha. So at IDS, you do not have to do fieldwork for your master's degree. And I have spent an awful lot of time over the years trying to persuade students not to do fieldwork for their master's degrees, but most students want to do fieldwork. It's entirely up to you. You absolutely do not have to do it. And increasingly nowadays, there are lots and lots of what do you call them? Reserve, where people have posted their fieldwork data online that you can go to and draw from and write your dissertation. So it's entirely up to you. There are no extra marks for doing fieldwork, but many students do fieldwork. IDS hosts events and members open to IDS, and there's several ways to join. Okay, yes, thanks, Chandni. That's not a question. A question about applications, dissertations. Does IDS collaborate with international education and development? No. IDS and the Department of the University's International Education and Development MA are separate degrees, and we don't collaborate closely. It's very difficult to collaborate closely at master's level partly because it's such a short time, so we don't have a collaboration with education and development. Yeah, no, I would agree with Chandni. The gender program is the best one for decolonization. What have we missed? Yes, Hannah. I can't hear you, Hannah. I think we can now. Try. Hannah, do you mean to talk to us? There was a question.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Sorry? No, nothing. Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Hannah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No problem. There was a question. No, I've forgotten what I was going to say. What was I going to say? Can't remember. Any other questions, anyone? You can also just ask, like, if you want to, instead of typing it into the chat.
I think Mohammed has a question, or both the Mohammeds have
Both
questions.
Mohammeds have questions. All right. Who would like to go first? No? Mohammed Jilani, you go first.
Yeah, I'll go first. But if the other Mohammed wants to go first, I think he or she asked.
No. You go first.
So,
You're online and talking now.
all right. So I just regarding what I asked about entrepreneurship, like I got what you said about, you kind of pave your own path, but there's no specific module designed for that. So just in relation to that, for instance, is there an example of somebody who they concluded their degree and that's how they paved their own path? Like, what are the ways to do that? If that's something I'm particularly interested in as a development theme, how do I pave basically a tailored path? Like, how does IDS allow me to do that, and how have other students done that in the past?
So I think it's partly around your choice of modules. So you choose modules that you think provide theoretical content that supports that. So it's firstly around your choice of degree. So for you, I think it would either be the MA in Development Studies, which allows you lots of choice in your degree, or the MA Globalization. So those are the two degrees that I think MA Globalization is, and Business and Policy is much more focused on the kinds of issues that you are interested in. And although they might not talk about innovation and entrepreneurship per se. They will provide you with lots of the theory around topics that are relevant. And then it's about choosing term paper questions that start to answer and are related to entrepreneurship and innovation. So most of our assignments are relatively open-ended questions that you can shape yourself. So they will be something like discuss a case study that demonstrates, I don't know, the impact of globalization on local industry. Maybe I've just made that up, but maybe that's a question. And then you could choose examples that allow you to draw out something that might be around entrepreneurship. So it's about shaping it in that kind of a way. Most of our students do this, and we definitely encourage it. Does anyone else want to come in on this? Chandni or Wafa or Niharika?
I can say two things.
Mhm.
One, I would urge you to look at the modules page of
Mm.
the business and development program. And you can click through to each of the elective modules and see what you might be learning. So then you can see if there's something associated with entrepreneurship that you can explore. And the second thing I would urge you to check out is an article that Abhishek Sani wrote for IDS,
That's a good idea.
because he was from my batch, from the MA Development Studies program, and he has an entrepreneurial journey of his own, and he was able to access a couple of opportunities at Sussex. Which he's written about at length, which I don't know much about, but he has all the details in his article. So I think one way of shaping your journey would also be to looking at opportunities at Sussex.
That's a brilliant idea, Chandni. Can you put those links in the chat? Because that's I've got about Abhishek's amazing success, which is absolutely about entrepreneurship as well. And he's not the only one. Other students in the past, they've also won Sussex pitches. So then the other Mohammed also had a question. And then there was, while we're waiting for Mohammed to talk, there was a question about scholarships for Bangladesh right early on. So we don't have specific scholarships for Bangladesh, and most students apply to the Commonwealth or Chevening scholarships. But there is also one IDS scholarship, which is not for Bangladesh in particular, which you can apply for, but you have to be registered for it. Scholarships is such a difficult thing for students, and I really know how much work you all have to do to find funding to come. And my advice is to look very, very widely, to look at every single thing you can think of. So try Rotary, try Bangladesh societies, but go online and spend many, many, many hours, unfortunately, looking for opportunities. And I'm really sorry we don't have more opportunities at IDS for scholarships. We have tried to build them, but IDS is a charity and it's very hard for us too. We're very conscious of how difficult it is to get funding for master students and PhD students. And we're working on trying to build that. But at the moment, we only have one scholarship a year. And I can tell you that last year we had over 500 applications for it. So it's very hard to choose the one worthy student who gets it. So I would encourage everyone to look as widely as possible for scholarships. Don't just look in the normal places. Look at everything you can think of. Okay, Mohammed, over to you. I think Mohammed keeps asking questions that are very theoretical, like what are the key challenges in sustainable innovation to development? I think we're going to get you to set our student assignments, Mohammed. You've asked some great questions. And it shows me you're already thinking about the kinds of things you want to study. I'm not sure if he's going to come and ask online. I mean, these are questions that are both questions and debates, like what are the key challenges in sustainable innovation to development. And we can spend a lot of time talking about them now, but I think these are questions for your time at IDS when you study, rather than questions about IDS and coming to study. All right, so there's some new questions. Opportunities for doing an internship. No, we don't do internships at IDS. We used to do them, but we find them very difficult to manage in a very tight 1-year degree. And you do an awful lot in that degree, and putting an internship in there as well can be incredibly stressful. So we don't do internships at the moment. What is the difference between doing an MA in development studies and MA in governance? Hiya, Mohammed, do you want to ask your question? Oh, hello, beautiful. Oh, she can stay with you.
Let her go, let her go. She's disturbing me.
Yeah. So did you want to ask your question, Mohammed?
Yes, what are the challenges we're facing in development technologically, and how do we overcome them,
Wow. Wow.
particularly in Africa?
Yeah, that's a
I'm
huge
sorry for
question.
that.
That's a huge question, Mohammed, because there are all sorts of challenges, aren't there? There's network challenges, there's getting access to information, there's environmental sustainability challenges with producing the technological products. There's all sorts of
Especially like energy.
Yeah, yeah. So Mohammed, I think you should look, if I were you, I would look at IDS for a degree, but I would also look at SPRU, this at the University of Sussex, because they do a lot of work on energy in Africa and things like, and questions like that. But when in your questions you've asked us, it sounds like you have, it's the combination of energy and development that interests you, because you keep talking about sustainable development and the challenges. So you're not just interested in finding energy solutions, I think. I think you're interested in finding the right kind of solutions that work for most people.
Sorry for interrupting. I'm thinking that without energy in Africa, we cannot develop. Obviously.
Yeah.
That is my thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but Mohammed, I agree with you completely. But I think the kinds of questions you're asking are intellectual academic questions. So I don't think we can really get into them here. I think when you come and study, we would definitely deal with them. And you would deal with them in your classes. So you're asking us thinking seminar type questions. So I can't give you an answer right here and now, I don't think. I don't know if anyone else, Chandni or Wafa or Niharika, want to give you an answer.
Linda, I just wanted to remind you of the time. I think we are
Yes.
we're substantially over time, I think.
Yeah, it does. And there are a couple of other questions as well. I'm sorry, Mohammed, I'm not going to answer your question directly. I'm so sorry.
Thank you
There's a
so much. It's okay. It's okay.
but I do know you're going to study, and one day you're going to tell us the answers. There's a question about the difference between MA development and MA governance. They are different degrees. The MA governance is much more governance focused, whereas MA development, you have much more choice. You can do lots of different things. In MA governance, almost all of your work will be focused around governance. But in terms of future prospects, it really depends on what you want to do after your degree. And a lot seems to hang on your dissertation topic. So even if you did MA Dev, if you chose a topic that was linked to governance, that would open up spaces for you to move into that direction. The MA Governance tends to be our most mature degree. It tends to have the most professionals who have already worked in areas of governance. So that's a good question. If you want to work in the offices of UNDP, Oxfam, would Sussex be a good choice? Yes, I think Sussex would be a good choice. All of those places you've mentioned, Aratica, UNDP, Oxfam, gender and active citizenship, all of those topics, Sussex and IDS are well known in those topics. So I think Sussex would be a good choice. My country is not among the selected countries what an academic qualification and age to apply. So age, Kristen, is irrelevant. You can apply at age 70. You can apply at age not 17 or 7, but maybe 27. But just apply. And if you're worried, you can write to us and we can check your applications. But you can apply and we will come back to you if we've got questions. A bit more about how a master's student can be well equipped by feminist research methodologies and gender. I think the best way to do that would be to do the MA Gender and Development. Alisu? Which team can I go to support in Brighton in the Premier League? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea which team we have to support in the Premier League. The acceptance rate at IDS. What is the acceptance rate at IDS? I mean, I can check for you. I think it's, but I'm not sure offhand what it is. I will check, and Yuki, I will try and come back to you about the acceptance rate. What is the difference in the globalization business degree and the general development strands? Is there flexibility in the optional modules? Every degree has a range of modules you can do or not do. There is some flexibility in the optional modules, yes. The difference, again, the globalization degree will be much more focused on doing issues and themes around globalization. So you will do things like understanding businesses in globalization, whereas the general development degree gives you much more range and choice. And you can do anything. Admission criteria from an engineering background. Do I qualify for the governance masters? Hannah, I would suggest you apply, Hannah, and we will look at your application and come back to you if we have questions about it. I hope we've answered everyone's questions apart from the IDS acceptance rate. It's definitely more than 50-50. It's probably 75% of all applications we accept, but I'm not 100% sure. I can go and check that. As Niharika pointed out, I think we're well over time, but if anyone wants to see the recordings, you have to ask the same place you registered for this. The university will share recordings with anyone who wants to see the recordings. Share our emails. Yes, I will share my email. I'll share 2 emails for questions. I'm going to give Chandni, Niharika, and Wafa one last chance to see if they want to add anything. And I will share an email for asking questions as well. So Chandni, do you want to start? Are you happy?
Yep, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, for being curious and asking so many questions. If you need anything else, I'm happy to for you to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And of course, Linda will share email IDs as well. And really, the website has all of the information you need. And all the best for your applications, and hopefully you'll be at IDS soon enough.
Okay, so I put an email address in the chat for anyone who has questions. Niharika, do you want to share anything?
No, just a thank you for everyone who joined, and we hope that we see some of you next year.
Yeah, that would be lovely. And Wafa?
I think she had to
had to leave.
go because of the evening union she's at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So best of luck, everyone. I wish you all huge success in your journeys, and whatever you do, I'm sure you're all going to go on in life and be a massive success. But thank you for sharing this time with us. Special thank you to Wafa, Niharika, and Chandni. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you, and I hope we see some of you at IDS next year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
so much, guys.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. Bye, Nisha. Bye, Andre. Thank you. Bye, Esme. Thank you, everyone. It's been lovely to have you here for this time. Bye, Kristen. Thanks, Fiona. Bye, Marcel and Mohammed. Both Mohammeds, thank you. Thank you, Mohammed, for asking me questions which are difficult to answer. It's always helpful. Bye, Andre. Bye, Nathaniel. Pierre Master's IDS says it. I thought I answered that question. I wonder if I've missed any questions, Chandni.
I think all of the ones in the chat were answered.
Yeah.
Ooh, shall we close the session?
You had some great answers, Chandni, to things I had completely forgotten, like Abhishek. How could I forget that?
Yeah, no, I mean, because you have a lot on your mind.
No, it was lovely. It's really lovely that you were able to remember that, because he's such a great example of innovation and he used it so well. Yeah,
He did.
there we go. I think we're done. Yeah. Brilliant. I shall leave this meeting, and Chandni, thank you. Wafa's left and Niharika's left, and thank you. Sanija and Fiona, are you staying on to ask questions? Or anyone else? No. No. Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you, Chandni.
Bye, take care.
Bye-bye.